Hello and welcome to our review for the 900 Global XPonent. The XPonent releases on July 28th with the Zen Gold label. I also have a review up for that one if you're interested in it as well. Before we get started, big shout out and thanks as always to Royal Crest Lanes. They're a big part of bringing these videos to you. All it takes is a text and we have everything we need. Also, my code Rosdahl10 will get you 10% off your order at checkout at CoolWick, and if you check the description, you'll find a bunch of helpful links and information, including our personal specs and a link to buy the Exponent at Bowler's Mart. I do receive a 5% commission on all sales through the link. To cover a few details first, since you've seen two different lanes already, we got footage both on Kegel Chromium and the house shot. Chromium is our typical test pattern, which is on lane 22. It comes in at 42 feet long, 25.5 mils, and just under a 7:1 ratio, so it's on the high side of medium for both length and volume. It's not as forgiving as a house pattern, but it's not as challenging as a sport pattern. The house shot on lane 20 is similar to Kegel's Easy Street, but with a bit more volume. More friction on the outside, more oil on the inside, but it's more challenging than most typical house shots. Strikes aren't as free here in League as they are at other places. Angel and the Exponent are going to make me look like a liar in that regard here in a bit, so stay tuned. Angel's layout's the same as always, 4 5/8 by 2.5. Remember just two numbers because the PSA to PAP doesn't matter on a symmetric ball. It's a strong but balanced layout, and tinkering around in the past has never worked, so this is just what we stick with for her. As usual, we changed the surface down to 1000 on Jayhawk Bowling Supply's Diamond Dust pads before finishing with React-A-Scuff to get it to a 3000-ish grit sheen. Another note here for the box surface purists, here are a couple photos. One photo is right out of the box, which is supposed to be 4000 grit. The other photo is right after coming off the 1000 grit pads before I used React-A-Scuff. Which is which doesn't really matter. What matters is that they're virtually identical. I've mentioned this before, but this is yet another reason to adjust or reset your surfaces prior to throwing the ball. What we ended up with after the surface adjustment is much closer to the surface listed on the box than how the ball actually came out of the box. With a surface adjustment or reset, you'll know exactly where you're starting and can replicate it with ease because the ball obviously won't always come out of the box at the surface it's supposed to. The Exponent features a familiar core and possibly new cover, or at least a new cover naming convention. The Shrapnel 2.0 core from the underappreciated Ordnance C4 comes in at a 248 RG and an 042 differential in 15 pounds, almost identical numbers to the Madcap core from Roto's Daredevil series, by the way, and the cover is the 701 Reserve Blend Solid. I have some thoughts on what the cover seems similar to that we'll talk about in a minute, but I'd imagine it's in the S70 something range given the line it's in and the general strength and reaction zone they were targeting. I'll give you a minute to take a look on Chromium first, and then we'll talk reaction. First of all, it's a perfect beyond perfect reaction for Angel. It has major hyped solid vibes right away, but the stronger core definitely gets the ball rolling sooner, pun intended. Also, weaker, smoother Duo comes to mind. While the surface was fresh, plenty of dig and traction, then it started to slow down a little as it lane shined. I think fresh Chromium in general is just too much for this ball in the first place, but it gives us clues to where the cover fits. I've mentioned in my videos that this is why I test balls shiny, because everything hooks with surface on it, but there's a lot more visible difference in cover strengths without the free traction of surface. If you can manage to follow this, I'll go slow. The S70 cover they've used quite a bit on balls in this line, like the Ordnance C4, Wolverine Dark Moss, Honey Badger Intensity, etc. It's virtually Storm's R2S, which is on the IQ Tours, High Road, and Phase 5. which is a little stronger than VTC from the Hype Solid and the Hustles. I think the 701 Reserve Blend cover is a little stronger than S70/R2S. Now, not much, because the strength level still looks familiar or similar. Most of the covers in this zone can be really strong with surface on them, but then when they start to shine, they drop off pretty fast. Now, that's not a bad thing at all. That actually makes them incredibly versatile. Plus, the ball will lane shine as the lanes are transitioning, and it might help keep you in the ball a lot longer. It's just a different wrinkle that affords you a lot of options, and that can be used to your advantage if you work it right. This seems like, even with surface, it's a ball down from whatever you start with at the most, but a perfect third ball because it really does seem a lot like a Daredevil. Something medium strength that's pretty clean up front but rolls strong in the mid lane and then walks in. That's great for a mid stage of transition where you still have something to work with, but have to move inside and need a blend of stability, control, and firmness to keep you in the pocket but keep you striking at the same time. Now let's move over to the house shot. I'm just going to keep talking because it's the same general reaction but a little stronger. This also gives you kind of a dual look since it's shined up a bit on chromium. Now it's in the perfect zone surface-wise for the house shot. Like I mentioned earlier, our house shot isn't tough by any means, but it's generally not wide open. There's a decent amount of oil and angles can be tricky, so it's not as free here as a lot of other places, but it looks like it here. The Exponent with a little lane shine looks like the easy button. Angel really liked her Honey Badger intensity. It had a quite a bit higher RG and was a mile ASIM, but the general shot shape looked fairly similar, and it was also an easy button here. Where it fit well on the house shot, but was a little too long and weak sometimes, the earlier core in the Exponent makes it right at home. Ball reaction just doesn't get better than this, and yeah, sure, it's a house shot, but there's plenty of people out there that struggle more than they should because they aren't in the right place, doing the right thing with the right equipment. When you match all that up, this is what you get. The Exponent obviously sits in a place where it's going to naturally match up with a lot of average league bowlers who play second or third arrow, and with a little surface work, it's right at home on tougher conditions too. The global catalog is pretty bare right now, and there's nothing currently in production that makes any sense to compare to this ball, so I'm going to compare it to the Zen Soul on the house shot, which is about a half step up in terms of cover and core strength. I'll give you a minute to get caught up. There's a lot of similarity here. The Soul, I think, was even better than the original Zen, but the OG already had a chokehold on people's attention, so it unfortunately didn't catch on and didn't last long. The other problem is that it was really similar to the original in terms of reaction, and since most people have had a Zen at one point or another, there wasn't really a point in buying virtually the same ball again. There's quite a bit of similarity between the Soul and Exponent. The X is a little longer and sharper. That's another clue on the cover strength. The cores are similar enough. The Soul has an extra almost 10 points of diff, but that isn't the whole story. I also don't think the S77 cover on the Soul is that much stronger than this one, but it still is, so as a whole, the Soul is earlier, smoother, and a bit stronger than the X. Again, they're close enough, though, that the X could be a reasonable replacement, but then again, so could an OG Zen with the shine knocked off. Those, of course, are still available. I'd mentioned the Honey Badger intensity earlier, so let's take a quick look at that comparison on the house shot while we're here. No sense in making a standalone video for that, so here's a refresher. I think you can quickly see the similarity we're seeing. We even got some lane level footage for the Exponent for a better look. Obviously this is old footage for the intensity, but I've said before that I always prefer to use footage from when a ball was new to compare with, because comparing a new ball out of the box to an old one that's got 50 games on it, even if taken at the same time on the same lane, it isn't as accurate as comparing new ball reaction to new ball reaction. This I think illustrates pretty well a difference in core versus a difference in cover. From one angle, the Exponent is the earlier, stronger ball, but from another angle, the overall reaction and friction response is really similar, or basically what I mean is that based on the reaction, the cover strengths look really similar, it just looks like the Exponent has a stronger core, so this is some good eye training. I'll have plenty of comparisons coming, I hope. I keep promising that and keep getting busy, but there's all kinds of stuff I want to take a look at, all kinds of great stuff that just came out, and all kinds of great stuff that's about to come out. Remember that release day is July 28th. It's dropping with the Zen Gold label. That video is linked at the end of this one in the More Videos box. Down in the description is a link to Bowler's Mart that will get one ordered for you, and of course don't forget my code Rosdahl10 to get 10% off your order at checkout at CoolWick. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.